Entering the atmosphere in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast from OmegaMetroid.com. My name is Andy Spiteri, joined by Doom Crossing. What a week we have had in the Metroid world, in the Metroidvania world. It seems like a lot of stuff dropped since we released our show last week, Doom. How the heck are you?
Pretty fantastic. So obviously we're going to talk about the big Metroidvania news in this week and how that's going to affect our next couple of episodes going forward. But yeah, my personal life has been pretty fantastic. We are officially new TV buddies, or at least we're about to be. I think I told you a while ago after you ordered your TV. I'm like, yeah, there's a TV that I've been eyeing for a while, but you know, I'm slowly trying to build up my money, save money for it. Well, I've been checking on the pages. Well, the boy howdy did the opportunity rise. So the TV I want I'm about to have it soon. The LG G4 77-inch OLED with 144 hertz refresh rate, which is the exact same as my PC monitors, so I can use them across whether I'm watching movies or on my PC or my consoles, doesn't matter. Now, normally this TV goes between $2,900 and $3,200, and I was eyeing that price because I was like, you know what? I saw this TV for $2,700 one time. I'm gonna look closely and wait till it drops then, and then I'm gonna pounce. Well, a few nights ago, just before I got off work really late at night, was about to head to bed, and before I did, I was like, you know what? Let me just turn on my computer real quick and just check it one time. And Andy, let me tell you, my jaw dropped. $2,400. That's what I had to make sure that the page didn't refresh and give me like a different TV, but no, it was the exact same TV. So I pounced on that so hard, and yeah, it is currently en route, and yeah, it will be here. It will be here soon, and yeah, cannot wait
sweet
to play Metroid Prime 4 Beyond on this bad boy.
Yeah, I hadn't bought a new TV in like 10 years, and it really does. It really did like change like the way, because like I'm a handheld Switch player primarily, but like now I'm just like, you know what? I'll go play downstairs on the big TV. Like Tears of the Kingdom was the game for me where I was just like, holy crap! Like this looks unbelievable. I played some Donkey Kong on there. Like the Switch 2 stuff just looks out of this world. So, and I think Metroid Prime 4 is like clearly the biggest of the or the best in terms of like graphical prowess that we have coming up here. So yeah, I'm excited for you, and I'm excited for me when we get that game, which I guess we should start off with. We have a lot to get into here today. We are going to be talking, actually, so we're going to be bringing back the first ever free ROM hack review, the first ever original ROM hack review. As promised, we have indeed finished Metroid X Fusion, so we're going to talk about it today in depth, but there was a lot of other stuff that happened during the course of last week as well, and we should start off actually with something that is un-Metroid related, just to put it out there for everybody. But if you are a nerd like me, and you are into Lord of the Rings like me, boy, have I got something cool for you. We just released episode number 3 of Middle Earth, the podcast, over on patreon.com/SBNet. This was a second episode of a two-parter where I was pitching to Allison and Corey how one could make a modern Silmarillion movie, or movies, I should say. I pitched them 5 movies, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Silmarillion or not, Doom, but essentially, like, imagine the Bible, okay? And it's like the Lord of the Rings Bible that details the first age of the world. So I pitched them this movie and how you could do this in 5 movies. And I changed everything to have the latter 3 movies have these kind of like great tales happen concurrently rather than thousands of years apart, because I thought that would work better for a movie. So that was released yesterday. When I started Middle Earth, the podcast, as a Patreon bonus show, I was like, okay, No episode is ever allowed to be longer than half an hour, and we broke our rule on the third episode, so it's like an hour long. Go check it out. It's really fun. I really enjoyed it, and there's going to be more Middle-earth, the podcast stuff coming soon. In addition to the final, I repeat, the final episode of the Great Metroid Area Ranking, which I believe as people are listening to this is out. If it's not out, it's going to be out like imminently, either tomorrow or the day after. 85 Metroid areas ranked over the course of longer than 2.5 years. I think it was just pushing 30 months with that we embarked on this adventure, and we came away with the definitive best area ever. I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, it was a little bit bittersweet actually recording that episode with you, Doom, and with Gooey Fame as well, because this has been a part of our Omega lives for the better part of 2.5 years, and now we wave it goodbye. So that is
you know, it was
well.
it was a tough fight against Doomseye. Very few areas really stood a chance, but you know, you'll just have to find out who triumphed in the end.
You know, we actually did adjust Doomseye on this ranking. Now, I'm not going to say if we adjusted it up or down, but it was adjusted, so there you go. So check that out. Patreon.com/SPNet has a lot of cool stuff going on. Now, let's get back to Metroid Prime 4. So earlier this week, okay, we were subjugated to a...
Blessed.
Some might say blessed, some might say other descriptors, but we did indeed. We had a 45 minute. For 45 minutes, my God, they talked about Kirby's Air Ride. And you know what? I'll come out and say it here so everybody knows my vendetta against Kirby. It's like decades old at this point. Some of it is like legitimate, like I don't like the Kirby games. Some of it's just a bit at this point, but like I will say, Of all the Kirby games, I actually did hear some cool things about Air Ride back in the day. I don't know if you did, if you ever played it. I never did.
I don't have a lot of experience. I just know it's just over the years, it's kind of built this cult following. And when they announced the new game for the Switch, I was like, oh, that's really cool they're bringing this back. I'm interested. Yeah. I personally, as someone who hasn't really seen a lot of the original Air Ride gameplay, I thought this new game looked really awesome. I'm going to wait till reviews come out. My backlog's already like insanely massive this year as it is, and we haven't even gotten Prime 4 yet. But yeah, from at least what I saw in the Direct, I'm like, yeah, this looks really fun.
Yeah, it looks good for like a Kirby game. I actually don't know if like you just raced on stars, if you have carts. I don't know, but
you have different types of vehicles. So like there's your traditional stars, but then you also have there's like different classes. So you have like chariot rides, for example, and they handle a little bit differently. You have this new one called like tank style, and it's like whenever you're engaging in a drift, because like it's using tire treads, you still go in the same direction, but you basically realign the tank as you're drifting, and then once you release, it like boosts you in that direction. It's really unique and interesting.
You know what? Okay, that sounds fine.
I feel like I don't need the details. The descriptor doesn't do it justice.
Like, yeah, I listen. I'm not gonna buy this game. I'm not gonna play this game. It's not for me. I'm happy though. I wanted to preface what I'm about to say. Like, I'm happy for the fans of Kirby's Air Ride that have been waiting a long time for this game, because we can empathize with that. But we got a 45-minute Nintendo Direct about Kirby's Air Ride, and at the end of the Direct, they did give the release date, and the release date, off the top of my head, I don't remember the exact day, but it was like November 20th or something like that.
Yep, November 20th.
So, as we all know, typically, Nintendo will tend to release one big title or one first-person title a month. And we had hoped that November was, looking to be the Metroid Prime 4 slot. And it doesn't look like that's the case anymore. And now our options are thin. September doesn't seem feasible at this point. I can't believe that they just shadow drop Metroid Prime 4, especially with the lack of really like big time marketing that it's had so far. So I'm going to take that month out. I don't think October is the month. We got Pokemon coming out. Kirby is coming out in November. that really leaves us two options. December, which I will say, Octopath Traveler 0 is coming out in December, which, while it's not a Nintendo game, is a pretty big, I believe, Switch exclusive game. So like that could probably fill in the December game. Or Metroid Prime 4 got delayed till 2026, and I suspect that we're going to get clarity at the September Direct, should we have one. I'm assuming we will, but I think that Metroid fans should probably brace for the reality that like Metroid Prime 6 is delayed. Now, hopefully it's not delayed very long, like maybe we're talking March, maybe May at the latest, which I really don't feel like is that, punishing of a wait, considering how long it's been already. I do know I saw a lot of Metroid fans when the announcement came out go into hyper mode, as it were, about this. And I am going to say you should prepare for the game to be delayed, but it's going to be okay. But that's kind of my take on the situation, is like I think of the two options, December or 2026, my Samus's percentage meter is higher on 2026 than it is in December. And I could be wrong, but that's what I feel like.
I think it's higher on 2026 by default, but that's because I have three options in mind, really. So I think it's 2026. I think it's December. I also think it's possible that there could be two November games. It's possible because Kirby Air Ride is going to be a very different game than Metroid Prime 4. It's going to appeal to mostly a different. Obviously, there's going to be some overlap with, like there is with every game, but I feel like they're definitely trying to appeal to very different types of audiences. I definitely think you could do like maybe Metroid Prime 4 in like mid-November. That still gives you a little bit of space between Air Ride and, a much larger amount of space between Pokemon, which of all the games, I feel like that's the one you really have to like avoid, is like Pokemon
that
and
really
Metroid
should
together.
be the November game. That's going to be the biggest game of them all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it comes out at like the very end of October, so it's like it may as well be a November game, but like, yeah, it's hard to say what's going on. Personally, I more so just want that clarity more than anything. Like if it's delayed, that's fine. I just want to know at this point like when it's going to come out, and I want to see like I want to see what I like to call the real pitch for this game. I think we've talked about this before, but I don't hate the marketing for this game, but it's definitely like it's very clear to me at least that Nintendo is still being very vague, and there's something else about this game, something important about this game that they want to show but they haven't yet.
And I think that probably lines up with like if that push hasn't happened. September was kind of my point where I was like, okay, if we don't get anything by now, this is when I might start to be like, oh, like something is smelling fishy. I will say you could still release it in December for sure. I don't think that you'd have two November games. I just don't see it. Not saying it's impossible, but I don't see it. I can't remember another month where two big franchise games have come out, but it could happen. But I think with the lack of what we've seen and like the rapidly dwindling 2025 release spots, I do kind of think maybe that gives us the 2026 indicator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which again, I think both of us are completely fine with that.
Yeah, well, and I mean, you have to be, right? Like, it's either you rush it out or, you wait a couple more months. And it's been 8 years, so, I mean, what's a couple more months at this point? That's what Metroid fans do. Like, we wait a long time for games. And listen, like, this is the third 8-year wait, but, I mean, it's not really. Like, you've had other games in between there. Like, you've had Dread, you've had Samus Returns, you've had other Metroid stuff, like Metroid Prime Remastered even, like, so this one I feel like has not been even close to that painful of a wait, personally speaking. I know that there's some people that would disagree with that, but right. I don't know, I feel like we're in a pretty good spot with Prime. I have to imagine if it's getting delayed, like I said, it's probably March, probably May, something like that.
Yeah. And, I was talking about this, a few podcasts ago as well. Like, when I was talking about the state of the video games industry, like, we are getting Metroid Prime 4. We have now crossed the threshold where there's absolutely 0% chance this game is getting canceled. And I think in today's gaming climate, that's something that I am extremely grateful for. Like, because that could very easily not be the case. We could very much be there's very much a plausible scenario where that game could have been canceled in today's gaming climate, but that's not the scenario we live in. And especially for a series like Metroid that, is a little bit more niche, that, does have, a much narrower appeal to its demographic. Yeah, I'm incredibly grateful that that's not the situation that we're in right now.
Any other developer that wasn't Nintendo or publisher would have canceled this game and just cut their losses. And they would have done it when they had to restart developmental. So for all the fans that like to say like Nintendo buries Metroid and it doesn't promote it and it doesn't do this, like, say what you will, and some of that is valid, but like Nintendo sticks by Metroid, at the end of the day, and the game is coming, and you know what, you're gonna be playing it, I would have to imagine, within the next 9 months. Okay, so like, hey,
at the absolute worst, I don't even think it's going to be 9 months.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. I mean, we're basically in September right now, so 9 months puts us pretty much into spring of 2026. So just, keep on holding on, Metroid fans, and hopefully we'll get that clarity in September. What we do know that we won't have to wait very long to play at all is Hollow Knight Silksong. My God, after years and years and years and years, Silksong has a release date, and they did not mess around. This is coming out in like a week. This game comes out September 4th. Now, things were kind of gearing up, like things were heating up. There was an interview release with Jason Schreier. There was some definite like momentum, like the account was tweeting like some things here. So like you kind of thought the release date was imminent, but I don't know if anyone thought that it was like this imminent. And I'm really excited for Silksong. I really like Hollow Knight. I thought that it was a great Metroidvania, and I think this Silksong is going to be even better, and I think it has the potential to be one of the biggest indie games like ever, pretty much like ever made. Taking away your Stardew Valleys and stuff like that. But this is.
I was gonna say, I think that's practically guaranteed that Silksong is going to be an overwhelming success.
Yeah,
unless for some reason like the game's quality doesn't meet the first ones in most people's opinion, which I highly doubt that's going to happen. But
I think that's almost like not fathomable. Like, even to be honest, if this was just more of the same, people would have loved it, and it would have done really well. And I think it's definitely not more of the same. Like, there's definitely a lot of stuff that you can even see from the trailer that adds to the combat, adds to the exploration. So I'm really excited about this. And that means, so I would say, Doom, since we've started this podcast, the single most requested episode, I get this all the time. When are you doing Inspired by Metroid on Hollow Knight? And the answer is soon. And the answer, dependent. I don't want to promise anything here. I am playing Hollow Knight as we speak. Doom is playing Hollow Knight as we speak. We are going to try and deliver it for next week. I don't know if we're going to meet that, because Hollow Knight is a beast of a game, okay? But we're going to try. And if it's not next week, it'll be soon.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult on my end, definitely, because I'm going to be out of town from Friday to Sunday as well. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it this week, but I'm definitely trying. Every waking hour that I'm free, I am putting into this game. So, I do think it's important I talk about my piece for a little bit, because I've alluded to it on the podcast before, but I played Hollow Knight for the first time 3 years ago. And,
I think we should save like the big like background for our show, but give like a sample prelude here.
Yeah. So I am not going to talk about my opinions on my current playthrough. Y'all are gonna have to watch Inspired by Metroid for that. But my initial playthrough on Hollow Knight, to put it mildly, I did not share the same consensus as the majority of people that played that game. I'll go a bit more into detail about why that is again during that episode, but I always it never sat well with me that I felt that, because it always felt like a game that really should have clicked for me, but it just didn't, and for a wide variety of reasons. So I'm openly and earnestly giving it a second chance right now, and how that's going, you'll just have to find out soon.
Yeah, I loved Hollow Knight when I played it, and I'm into my run now, and I'm having a great time again with it. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. It's been many years. Like, I haven't played it since it came out in 2018, and I gotta say, like, this is like the most of all the Metroidvanias that we play. The fans are most passionate about Hollow Knight, and I don't think it's particularly close. Like, people ask for this episode all the time. So, after 280 episodes, it's coming. Hollow Knight, inspired by Metroid. And you know what? It might even be a two-parter, because the game is that ginormous. So, tune in to the Omega Metroid podcast for that. Very excited about that. Okay.
Yeah, obviously, as you can imagine, Shadow Labyrinth has been put on the back burner. We will do that eventually. I still really enjoyed what I played of that game so far, but obviously these are far more pressing matters to get to.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that down the road. We have an Inspired by Metroid on the initial impression, so go check it out if you want kind of a tidbit of what that might look like. All right. From one Inspired by Metroid game to another, that is quite literally inspired by two Metroids, it is time to review I might say, you could argue, the most anticipated Metroid ROM hack of all time. ROM hack reviews returns this week. We are going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly about Super Metroid X Fusion by Metaquarius. What a whirlwind playing this game, I will say. Reaction is all over the place, and it really depends on which version you play. So I'm going to, before we even get in depth into anything, I want to just preface this podcast with I think that everybody listening to this, if you're able to, you should play this game, because it's a really great hack. It really is. But for the love of God, if you play this game, do not do what I did, and we'll talk about this as we get into this. Do not download version 1.0 or version 1.1. They are brutal. You absolutely must download version 1.2. 1.2. Let me make sure. Yeah, 1.2.
That's the latest one.
Because that will actually give you options for what difficulty you want, and this game is borderline impossible without those options.
Yeah, supposedly there is a 1.3 coming down the line as well that's going to address some bug fixes, but as of the time of recording, 1.2 is the most recent release. And as somebody who loves the Dread Mode one-hit kill difficulty in Metroid Dread, get 1.2. Get 1.2. It's the other ones, I haven't played it, but from what I've seen and from what I've heard, it's like not even like fun difficult. It's just like just absolutely masochistic punishment.
Difficult, like difficult is not a strong enough word, okay? Because I actually, so here's my story playing this game and why this got delayed by a week. Is Doom and I downloaded the game, and I downloaded version 1.1, which I thought had been patched to be easier, and apparently it has, actually. So like, I would not want to see what 1.0 looked like. And Doom downloaded 1.2, and you played on easy mode, right?
Yes.
I played on easy mode as well.
Yeah, easy mode is like basically like maybe a normal, or maybe like just above a normal difficulty of your standard Metroid game.
Yeah. So my first warning sign was like, oh, there's no difficulty option. I guess, like, whatever. Maybe you could find it somewhere. And I was playing, and for like 4 hours I was playing, and I was beating my head against the wall. I was not having a good time at all. Like difficult is not an adequate descriptor. Like, inhumane was like the word that I would use, or just like mutilation. Like, it was just brutal. And I didn't even get that far. Like, I got to one of the earlier bosses, and it was like so unfun. And actually, so another thing that we'll get into as well, but there was a cutscene that plays every time you die. And originally, so there is a way to skip cutscenes, but they don't tell you that anywhere in the game. You have to read the README file. So I didn't know that you could actually do that, which is partly on me, but partly on the game itself, because I feel like that's something that you want to advertise loudly and boldly, especially if there is a long cutscene every time you die. And if you are dying multiple times, it can get old pretty quick. So I had the most brutal experience with this game, and I was messaging Doom, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? And I realized that I did not download the right version. So I actually was just like, you know what? It's going to be quicker for me to re-download the new version and start from scratch than continue with where I was. And it was. I was caught up to where I was in less than an hour. And after that, it was okay.
Yeah, and you also had like another issue where like you couldn't aim your missiles diagonally as well. Were you able to fix that?
No, that was a me thing. Because everyone else I've talked to has not had that. So I don't know what was going on with my controller. I've never experienced that in another hack before, I will say. But yeah, I don't know what that was. But it never fixed itself. But to be fair, it didn't need to on version 1.2 because I could just like maneuver my way around trying to shoot diagonally.
Right.
So
that's odd. Yeah, because you were the only person I heard that from. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely not a game feature. That's definitely some sort of bug.
So I do want to preface, before we even say anything, if you are going to play this game, and I think you should, download version 1.2. Do not download any others. Please, for the love of God, don't download any others. If you still want to play on like the insane difficulty, it's still there. Like, you could still do it on version 1.2, but you could also play on easy mode and not get mutilated over and over and over again.
Yeah, and I also will say, it should be obvious if you're familiar with the podcast, but in case you're not, we are going into full spoilers on this. So if you haven't played it and you don't want anything spoiled, bookmark this, save it for later. We are talking everything in this game from start to finish.
Yeah, and I guess I would suggest like the really the only spoilery part is probably going to be talking about some of the bosses. So I don't think that you're going to be too spoiled, because they're really, I mean, as we'll get into, like, there's story, but not. If you've played Metroid Fusion, you know the story of this game.
It's essentially Metroid Fusion remixed, but like the same beats are there.
Okay, so let's set the table here. What the heck is this game? This is being billed as one of the first total conversion hacks, which essentially means that you're playing Metroid Fusion, but you're playing it with Super Metroid's engine. Some of it you're playing with Super Metroid's engine. So there's a lot of... It's really weird, because there's like... It's like playing Metroid Fusion, but there are some rooms that you could tell are ripped straight from Super Metroid. And the wall jumping works exactly like Super Metroid. The movement works like Super Metroid, but there are some key differences as well.
I was going to say, not quite like Super Metroid, because in Super Metroid, you can infinite single wall jump.
Right.
In this game, you can only do it... So you have more control like you do in Super Metroid, but you can still only do it once,
you're capped.
Just like in Fusion. Yeah.
Some of the other differences is that you... well, actually, you know what? And we should mention, too. So there is a version 1.2 for Super controllers and for GBA controllers. And so I think both of us played the GBA version, which is probably what I'd recommend. So I don't know if on the Super Nintendo version, they still have the way to cycle through items the same as they do in the Game Boy Advance version. But in the Game Boy Advance version, that is where you see some of the Metroid Fusion kind of, I guess, like control techniques, where you don't have to press run to activate your speed booster. You don't have to cycle through the items using select. You could just kind of hold down the button and you're good to go. So the game is like literally like a mashup of Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion, and a lot of the like a lot of the areas, like Doom put it well, like it's a remix. So it's like a remix of your favorite song, and it's almost like a mashup. Would be a better way to put it. So like there's a lot of areas that are very well, they're going to be familiar to players. So yeah,
but they're like fusion-fied. So like, hey, you know, maybe there's this one area you really liked in Super Metroid. Well, what if this appeared on a Fusion on the GBA, and this is kind of like a cool what if.
Yeah. So yeah, there is. I would say that there is a lot of good. There's definitely some bad, and that's beyond even the difficulty that we talked about. I think on the easy mode, difficulty is very manageable. It's basically like playing another Metroid game. There are some sequences which are nuts, though. Even on easy mode, I will say.
I will say, even the brutal sequences, and I talked about this on the Discord too, even the more brutal sequences, at least on easy 1.2, when you have save states, they're not too bad. You can usually brute force your way through those pretty manageably, I think. But yeah, without save states, I think, well, we'll get to that later, but I don't know. I actually enjoyed some of those, if we're thinking of the same ones.
I think we probably are. All right, well, let's get into it here, and we're going to kind of follow our definitive ranking formula, because it applies well to talking about a game like this, and we'll kind of go like category by category, talk about what worked, what didn't work, things that we liked, things that we had struggles with, and kind of go from there. But we should just start off by just saying, like, regardless of what you like think of the game and its difficulty and its story and its everything, this game is a technical marvel. That it exists at all is incredible. Like it really, it's hard to describe, because like, there are rooms that you see and they're just like, they're ripped right from Super Metroid, but it's just like they're fusion rooms, like they're with fusion sprites, but they're built just identically, faithfully. It looks really spectacular when you see it. The other thing that I would say is that when you play this game, the atmosphere of what you're seeing is just like so. It's very. You know what it reminded me of actually was it felt to me like Alien Isolation a little bit, where it's got kind of that like really cool, desolate vibe or whatever to it, and like there's, especially in the last area, there's some really cool areas that you come by, but the world and the atmosphere and everything is just like, it's very a big part of the story here, and it kind of in a lot of ways is like a realization of what maybe Metroid Fusion could have been if it really leaned into kind of that horror aspect. But yeah, I mean, just like the world itself and like how they put everything together, how they fit all these new rooms into the sectors is really just spectacular.
Yeah, I was actually, because you'd think like, a mashup of Super Metroid and Fusion, you might think like, there's going to be like a lot of disparity here. Like you're going to see where the seam is. Everything fits together seamlessly, it feels like. It really does feel like, despite being a mashup, it really does feel like its own unique, cohesive world. And I really got to give a shout out to Metaquarius for, because you could have easily had like, this is the Super Metroid part, this is the Fusion part, but it really does just all feel like it feels like it all belongs together, and that is an incredibly hard thing to do, even on paper, let alone programming and like doing all the artistry for that in the game.
Yeah, I like Metaquarius like really did just like an awesome job putting this together, and to be honest, like that's not really a big surprise. Like for anybody that's kind of followed us on, like ROM hack reviews, like Metaquarius has put together some like really strong ROM hacks. And you know what? Off the top of my head, I can't remember if he did Rogue Dawn or maybe it was Super Duper Metroid. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. Super Duper, yeah. I know I've played like a bunch by him, and like all of them are just like really, really well done.
He also did the Federation Force hack as well.
Yeah. So here we go. So. Grand Prix, that was a really good one too, actually. So Super Duper Metroid, Super Metroid Axiom, that like X Fusion, obviously, and Federation Force. Like he's a really, or I should say, they are a really good like ROM hacker. So like this isn't completely unexpected, but I mean like it is just like we have to tip our cap. Like, this is just like an absolute technical achievement. And not only that, but like I think like they really understand like kind of the what makes a cool Metroid area, what gives it that atmosphere, because there's like multiple spots in the game that are just like, wow, this is like so creepy, so cool. They did a really good job.
Yeah, I'll elaborate more on like specific examples once we get to like some of the other categories, like the boss fights, for example, because I really want to highlight some of the sprite work for some of these new bosses, and even some of the old bosses have some twists to them as well. But yeah, just the art direct. I don't know if we're giving like our usual ratings. I'm giving the art direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I were to, I would give the art direction as a whole a 5. The art direction, yeah, is absolutely fantastic.
I probably would too. I would be high on it. You know what? What I would not be high on is the story, and particularly the writing of this game. I think so. So I noted that fairly early into the game, and I think the more that I've read from other people, I think this is a fairly common critique. So the game, and the game does a few things with its story actually that I don't mind. Like, I appreciate, like, and again, spoilers here. So there's some fusion spoilers. There's some spoilers for how this works in the game. So fast forward if you don't want to listen to this. But I like the way that the game just like immediately doesn't mess around. It doesn't draw out the story. It's like, you've played Fusion. You already know Adam is the robot. So like they just get that over with really quickly. They just like kind of set the stage for the X right away. But I feel like on one hand, like there really is no, like there's barely any story like at all in this game. It's just kind of like, well, the X are here and like we gotta destroy the ship, and that's kind of it. And not only that, but I feel like the way that Samus and Adam interact is not in keeping with the same tone as like the environmental storytelling, which is very ominous and dark and brooding. And you hear Samus and Adam talking, and it's just kind of like bratty, jokey, kind of like Tom Holland and Zendaya, you know?
I was about to say, she feels like a bad MCU character.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Which is really disappointing, because like the environmental storytelling is really cool, but the characters are written in such a way that it's just like, what is this? And
yeah.
I one more thing I'll just quickly say is like, not only are the characters not good, but that lack of story, ironically, like that's one of my big critiques of Metroid Fusion, and I really like that you don't have to talk to Adam very much in this game, but there's so much stuff that you see in the background that's just like kind of unexplained, like it's just kind of there for no real reason, which we'll touch on as we get into the areas. So
overall, I really did enjoy this hack. However, the first note that I wrote here, dialogue is caps lock so bad, Jesus Christ. That is the first note that I wrote in this whole pamphlet. And yeah, the dialogue, listen, Metaquarius, you did a phenomenal job with this hack, but I also got to keep it 100. This dialogue is absolutely atrocious. Like, you know what? I'm gonna hold Sakamoto to account when he makes another M. Doesn't deteriorate the fact that he's an incredible creative, and like he's largely responsible for one of my favorite series of all time. And same here, phenomenal job with this hack, but the writing is actually like some of the worst writing I've seen in a Metroid game, which is a lot, because we also have other M, and it's actually, I also do have to say, the game also takes some very unsubtle pot shots at other M, which, I mean, it's fine. We've done that here on the podcast before, but I gotta say, it takes a lot of guts to take pot shots at other M's writing when your own writing, frankly, isn't that much better.
I feel like it's just like, okay, yeah, we all know like other M, it wasn't what it could have been, but like, let's focus on the game that we're telling, and like, if you're making kind of like a jokey haha Metroid game, I think that's totally fine. Like, I love me a good comedy movie, but this was like bad comedy in a horror movie, which actually is a bad analogy, because like horror and comedy actually kind of work well together. But like in here, it like just like imagine like a psychological thriller, and then like, you know, banter between Tony Stark and Bruce Banner. It doesn't work.
Yeah, and again, like, it's all, I think another part of it, because like I think about the writing on Fusion and Other M a lot, and it's like, Fusion's writing also isn't that very good, but I feel like a lot of it is alleviated with the fact that there's no voice acting. Because if you look at this, the writing between Fusion and Other M is very similar, but when you hear the characters talking in Other M, it makes it like substantially worse. Whereas Fusion, the writing may not be good, but I can at least appreciate the vibes of what the dialogue is going for, and so I still get that emotional impact. Despite there being no actual voice acting here, that bad writing was still just really seeping through, and I did not enjoy that at all. I got to a point where I literally I usually, even when a game has bad writing, I usually stick through it. There came a point where I was just like, nope, skip, don't care. I can't take this anymore. And it's just really, I don't know. It felt like something that I would have thought was good in high school, if I'm being honest. Which again, I know I'm being very harsh here, and I want to stress, other than the writing and a couple of other critiques, I pretty much love this hack. But the writing definitely was just this huge weight on what I otherwise think was like a really incredible effort.
Yeah, and like I guess the other thing too is like the writing isn't good, but then like it completely, like, this story just disappears like very quickly into the game. Like you're kind of told, and I really like this actually. So there's a point in the game where Adam's like, to get to Sector X, and you need to activate the auxiliary power in each sector. So you kind of have your objective, and I really like that you can basically pick and choose which one you're going to go to first. Not all of them, but some of them. And like after that, there is no story. It's just done. So like there was opportunity there to have like a really cool story, especially as you got into Sector X, and they didn't. And instead, you just kind of have the first little bit of what you have. And the other thing that I will say as well is, like, I really feel like there's a couple points in the game where you have like options for what Samus is going to say back. And I don't feel like any of those options really make a difference to what you do. It's kind of like when you have like a dialogue option in Zelda, like they're basically all the same thing. They're going to get you to the same point, but there might be like a line or two that's different. So like that I thought was a little bit disappointing, because there are some cool choices that I think that you can make. Like, spoiler for the end of the game, but like you could choose to save Adam or not, and it doesn't matter what you do. Or even like when it says like, yeah, I want to join the X when I die, like you really don't do anything with that either. At least not that I figured out. Like I was excited to try that, and then like it just started a new game, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's it.
Yeah, it's more like so the join the X when you die, like it just kind of it changes it gives you this alternate, really disjointed, distorted version of the theme. Very, very dissonant. That's the word I was looking for. And it turns the little Metroid icon into an X Parasite icon, and it's like, that's cute, but it doesn't really do anything beyond that.
Yeah.
So cute little Easter egg, but yeah, I was hoping with an option like that, I was hoping for something more like, oh, I want to see like this dark alternate reality option right here,
Yeah, and like again, you look to the GOAT AM2R for this, because like you can play as the SAX in that game, and like I thought for sure you'd be doing something similar in this game, but yeah, unfortunately the story is not the strong point of this game, which is fine. The gameplay,
I do like.
I will say
I was gonna say I do like how the game starts though. I kind of like how basically, so you get a similar prologue. This time Samus gets infected on the BSL itself instead of SR388. There's actually nothing that happens on SR388 in this game, but Samus gets infected on the BSL. She goes unconscious, and then she wakes up post-surgery with the fusion suit, and she's trying to piece together everything that's going on. That opening I love. The opening of this game is amazing, and I wish the rest of the game was able to follow up on kind of this new, because I kind of love that idea of like, Samus wakes up in this new suit. All of a sudden, she can absorb the X and trying to figure out what the hell is going on here. What happened to me? Like, that's a really cool premise, I think. And unfortunately, it just doesn't deliver on that.
You know what? Actually, I'm going to give 1 point to the story props, actually, is I do like at the end of the game, depending, I think this is the option when you save Adam, but depending on your choices at the end, when Samus is giving her monologue instead of like the one of them must understand what kind of thing for Metroid Fusion, which I always thought was really dumb, and like I don't know, they obviously have dropped that plot line. I really liked actually the idea that like the Federation can cover up this disaster by saying it was a rogue AI that went wrong, and I was like, oh, you know what, that's kind of a cool beat actually. That would enhance the outlawness of Samus and of Adam, so I kind of dig that actually.
Yeah,
but we didn't go anywhere with that. I have a few other problems with the story that as it pertains to like the end game, but we'll come back to that. I do want to talk about the gameplay. As we talked about, like we touched on all the superisms and the fusionisms. I think I just wanted to just go over really quickly again how like really smooth everything felt like, and there were a lot of really great changes made specifically to the diffusion missiles. I thought the diffusion missile was the best item in the game.
Oh yeah, the diffusion missiles, like they work so much better in this game. Yeah. I love that you don't have that insanely large charge up sequence. It's just like, nope, they just do it by default now. They reduce your fire rate, and usually I'm not a fan, but like they are so powerful in this game. Like you really feel awesome. how powerful those diffusion missiles are, and so you actually don't mind the fire rate being canned, because like otherwise I don't see how you could rapid fire a diffusion missile like that. It really does. Yeah. It really does feel like this break in case of emergency projectile, but you still have plenty of ammo.
I do want to say in terms of gameplay, so like most of everything here is like the Super Metroid control scheme, but there's some things from Metroid Fusion that they do include in the game. So I'm curious why some of the things from Metroid Fusion were included and some weren't. I thought that it was brutal that you didn't just have the standard ledge grab in this game. Like, I don't know what they were doing, what they were thinking. This of any ability, I feel like this is the one that you just want to be like, okay, we're gonna bring this over and update this for players. So that one I thought was really tough not to have.
Yeah, there's a couple things, and I'm not sure if it was just a limitation from working within Super Metroid or not. I have no idea. I've never done a ROM hack before, so I could be talking to my butt here. But yeah, I definitely thought that was odd. I thought it was also odd not to have any of the ladders or the monkey bars, because for me that is like very distinctly Metroid Fusion, like, and not having that in there. That I was okay
with, because like that's not Super Metroid. So I will say this too. The space jump in this game is the Fusion space jump. Thank God. It's not the Super.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah, it's consistent. It actually works. Yes.
Yeah. So that was really cool. One thing that they got rid of from Super and from Fusion is when you lay a power bomb, it doesn't reveal all of the blocks anymore, which I thought was like kind of stunk. It wasn't like a deal breaker by any means, but like that's what I use to see what's going on.
That grinded my gears quite a bit actually, because you also don't get the X-ray visor in this game. Yeah. Which actually, I guess we can talk about this later, but that's actually one thing that's new in 1.2 is the SAX does not have the X-ray visor anymore, but we'll talk about that for its own dedicated section.
I saw the SAX with the X-ray visor in my first playthrough, and I actually thought that was really cool. That wasn't the problem.
We'll talk about that later, but yeah, so there's no X-ray visor. So pretty much the only way, and unlike Dread, the missiles also don't reveal the blocks, but that was the case before Dread as well. But yeah, really the only way that you can reveal blocks is with bombs. And in a lot of cases, like, you have these very big open rooms. You have some that you're going to have to bomb jump to if you really want to reveal it. And yeah, that I found that to be a bit annoying in some cases. Wasn't too bad. I still think they shouldn't have done that though. It was just like, that just kind of, I don't know. It didn't feel like it increased the challenge. It just made things more annoying.
So I'll say about the gameplay, like if you are going to play this game, you have to be good already at Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion. You have to be good, and you have to really be in control of your jumps. So like in Super Metroid, like you can jump up and like morph while you're on the ascent of your jump, and then like squeeze into high areas. That's like a prerequisite for this game, and it's not an easy skill to do if you're just starting out. So like that will be tough as well. Yeah, this is
also
not made for like new. It's made for veteran players, to be fair. And even before the difficulty like got scaled down, I would still say like you have to be good at these two Metroid games to stand a chance in 1.2.
Yeah, absolutely. There's also a couple more things. And again, overall, like I really enjoyed the gameplay. Like, I mean, it's your pretty standard Metroid gameplay fare. And so like if you enjoy literally any 2D Metroid game, you're going to have fun playing this game. But there were like a couple of other like little minor nitpicks that I had that I think could have really improved the game. It's technically the same way in Fusion, but I think it's an especially bigger deal in this game because of how less linear it is. But destroyed doors are not marked on the map, and that really makes backtracking difficult because there's a lot of routes that will look like they're connected on the map that aren't, and it's very easy to get roadblocked in places. And I really wish the map just made it more clear whether a door was destroyed or not, or whether or not a room was connected, because it'll have like the little connection where the little white line is missing to imply that you can go to the next room, but then the door will be destroyed and the map that isn't updated for that. So that really bugged me. There was a point in the game, I told you about this I think about a week ago when I was playing, but there's one moment in the game where it took me like 3 hours to find the correct path.
Yeah.
After I got a specific item, and a lot of that was because I kept running to destroyed doors. I'm like, oh my god, which way is it? Every way on the map makes it look like I can go here, but it's actually blocked off. And so that was making me beat my head against the wall. So I wish that was updated.
That's like a Fusion problem. You're right, but I do wish like there's got to be something that you could do to just let players know like you actually can't go through here. That drives me nuts. Yeah.
And there was also, and then sort of related to that as well. And correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you couldn't do this in Super Metroid or not, but in this game you can only view the map of the current area you're in.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know which Metroid game it became a feature where you could just view all of the maps that you've explored, but this game is definitely one of those games where I really would have appreciated doing that, because again, it is not hand-holdy at all like Fusion is. It's not, you're not going to have any waypoints, you're not going to have any objectives, and it's not like it's not Zelda dungeon style where you're going area 1 then area 2. You're going to area 1, then area 4, and then area 3, and then maybe back to area 1. Like it is which is my type of Metroid game. That's the kind of progression in a Metroid game that I love.
Yeah.
You know, I love that feeling of this needle in a haystack that could literally be anywhere. But I also like to be given the right amount of tools to be able to deal with it, and not having all those tools, you know, at points, I did find that a bit frustrating.
Yeah, that's completely fair. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to add on to that too. I think that this game, this is maybe just a me critique, but like anybody that's listened to ROM Hack reviews knows, like one of the things I spend the most time about is like analyzing the map. I feel like the way that this map was put together makes zero sense. Like zero sense. Like geographically, nothing fits, you know, which it probably doesn't seem like a big deal, but like there is a point in one of the sectors where you go up to the main deck on like the top left of the map, and then when you get to the main deck, you come in and then you go into a room and you go back into the same sector, and you're on the bottom like left of the sector that you just came from. And it's like, this doesn't fit. And like it kind of stinks because like oftentimes it feels like they're just like random portals to random places, which, you know what, maybe that's fine, and it certainly is not a big detractor from the game, but I didn't care for that. I like a little bit more care with my maps.
I like all the areas that have a sense of continuity to each other, and you definitely you definitely it's funny because I was just talking about how art direction wise everything does blend seamlessly together, and that is still true. But when you really start connecting the areas together, that's where everything does start to feel very, very segmented. The one that actually stuck out to me, and I thought this is the one you're going to bring up, was the classic powerbomb tube leading to Sector 4.
I love that.
So I love seeing that. But when you do that, so Sector 4, that shows that at the very bottom of the map, but you bomb that in Sector 5, and it shows that at like the completely opposite corner. So like you are like at the top right when that happens, and then when the map activates, you were like completely, you know, southeast downwards or southwest downwards from where that spot should be. And like that's the one that really stuck out to me. I'm like, that ain't right.
At like the end of the day, like it's not a big deal, but it is just kind of something that bugs me, that I'm like, this should fit together. And like, I'm sure if Metaquarius ever listens to this, he's probably rolling his eyes, like, who cares? But I care. I feel like it's something that's important.
And again, I want to stress, this hack is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the vast majority of this hack. These are just like some little nitpicks that I'm getting out of the way. The only true major critique I have really is with the story. These are like, I didn't like it. I think it would have improved the game, but like it didn't really detract from the overall experience for the most part, I think. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing I just wanted to talk about, and this one's especially minor, but so the entrance to DMX, it uses the exact same icon as when an item is in the room, and you can access this room very early on in the game. And I swear, for so long, I was going all over and bombing the room and, just pressing different control directions to see if there was like a hidden tunnel or something. And I'm like, oh my God, how do you get this item? Nothing I do reveals anything. Like, this is insane. And I wasted, and I have a bone to pick with that room specifically just because of the amount of time I wasted trying to find this item that isn't actually there. It's really just the entrance to DMX. So I wish it got its own icon there. But again, not that big of a deal at the end of the day.
Yeah, that one I also bombed like everywhere in that room. I'm glad I wasn't alone. All right, let's talk about. I'll tell you what. What do you want to talk about first? Some of the areas or some of the bosses? I guess you know what. I want to talk about some of the bosses first. I think. Although actually, you know what? I forgot to say. We forgot to, most of the items that you get in this game are like standard items, but maybe let's spend just a quick minute talking about them, because there is a level 1 and level 2 Shine Spark that you can get. And I thought that was like a neat idea, because like the level 1 Shine Spark is a Super Metroid one where you take damage when you Shine Spark. I kind of was thinking like level 2 was going to let you Shine Spark in Morph Ball mode, but it doesn't. Or I thought it would let you short charge, but it doesn't as well. It just like you don't take damage with it, which I was like, okay, that's fine.
So it actually does a little bit more than that. So one, I don't know if this is part of the level 2, but unlike the Super Metroid Shine Spark, you can go from a Shine Spark back to a speed boost by hitting the slopes. So I thought that was really nice.
I
don't know if that was. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. What I know you can do with level 2 though is actually something that you haven't been able to do with the speed booster up until Metroid Dread, and that's jump in the air, land on the ground, and then continue your speed boost. That's a new thing you can do with the level
Really?
2 speed boost. So I thought that was that's something you can do now. So I actually thought that was like
for me.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really cool addition. Unfortunately, it's a lot harder to use just because just like Super Metroid, the game has a 4:3 aspect ratio instead of the modern 16:9 aspect ratio, which I definitely prefer with my speed booster. Gives you, lets you see it in front a little bit more. Whereas here, you really have to be like precise. And some of the challenge I like, but you do get some of that classic Super Metroid speed booster jank too, which doesn't fly well with the 4:3. But again, minor critique. I overall more often than not, I appreciated some of those modernizations that they put on the speed booster
in this game. Actually.
Yeah.
I thought diffusion missiles were like incredible. Like I actually got to a point where I was just like walloping bosses with diffusion missiles. Like, well, as we'll talk about in just a sec. You know what item I really dug? It's the Spike Breaker. I was like, this thing's awesome.
The what?
The spike. Did you get the Spike Breaker? Did you do the optional boss?
No, I didn't. I'm not aware of this at all.
Okay, so there is an item called the Spike Breaker, and as the name implies, you just break spikes with it. And I was in Sector 3, and I could see this missile expansion or power bomb expansion or something like that, and it was under a bunch of spikes. And I was like, how do I get this thing? And like I was just like bashing and power bombing trying to get it, and I eventually just left. And you fight a boss, and that's your answer, how you get it, which we'll talk about in just a sec. But I thought that was a cool item.
Okay, yeah, I had no idea, but that was actually the one expansion in Sector 3 that I could not find. So yeah, I was also like Also bashing my head against the wall with that one. So now I know that it's a brand new original item.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear you talk about that boss, because I legitimately had no idea.
It was pretty cool. Which I guess we should just talk about the bosses right now, and maybe we should just run through and just like go boss for boss. I didn't write notes about every boss, but I think that that we can kind of go through. And maybe we'll start with the Metroid Fusion bosses, because almost every boss in this game has like some sort of like enhancement or something like that done to them. So I didn't write down the list of bosses in order because they can be all over the place. So I figured we just do like the fusion bosses and go to the spoilers, the super bosses that you fight in this game as well.
Okay. Is it alright if I talk about a couple of the generic enemies first?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll make it pretty brief because obviously the bosses are the highlight, but oh my god, I popped off so hard when I saw the zombie trooper reutilizing that sprite from the original Fusion cutscene. I thought that was like a really cool way to turn that into an enemy. They're not hard at all, but like I just love that they're a thing. I thought those guys were awesome.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was cool seeing that trooper. I actually thought it was pretty cool. Like I know that's in Metroid Fusion, but like just seeing Genesis, I feel like after AM2R now, I'm always just like, oh yeah, there he is. So that one was pretty cool. There was like a few like really cool enemies, like the ones that you see specifically from like Super Metroid that come in and you're just like, you're not in the game. That's really cool.
Yeah. There's also in Sector 6 you're introduced to like these proto Machtroid looking things that can actually get possessed by the X parasites. Those look disgusting and creepy, and I love how they fade in from the background. I love their I like their lower pitch squealing as opposed to like the baby Metroid. I thought those were absolutely awesome too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Like the enemy design in this game, like the sprite work for this game is immaculate. Like it might be the best sprite work in any ROM hack. Like,
oh yeah,
maybe aside from like AM2R, right? Like,
but
it's incredible.
But even then, AM2R isn't even technically a ROM hack. That's like its own game that like just utilizes other assets.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk about these bosses here. Arachnus. I mean, it's Arachnus. Even I could beat this guy. Okay, on version 1.1. So he's just there for a good time. He's not there for a long time. But things I think pretty much immediately pick up when you fight Zizabi, because there is not one, there is two. And I was fighting this on the original difficulty, and I was learning the hard way that the short Zizabi was much less powerful or had much less health than the tall Zizabi. So I was trying to take out the tall one first, and I was like beating my head against the wall. And this I thought was so difficult on the first like playthrough that I did. I played version 1.2 and like smoked him in like 2 minutes, but the first one, man, that was pretty intense. What'd you think about this guy?
Yeah, 1.2 it wasn't bad at all. Definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't write too many notes. I was just like, oh, this is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
Indeed. All right, Ceres. I thought that the Ceres fight was like actually fine. The thing that stuck out to me about Ceres is that you actually see Ceres rampaging through Sector 4 on your way to the fight, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, there are a couple of moments, because one of the new gimmicks of Sector 4 is you can actually manually change the water level now, and I had lowered it completely, and there were a few times where, despite there being no water, he was just still crashing through the environment. I'm like, okay, that clearly wasn't supposed to happen. But otherwise, I thought that was like a really cool set piece there.
Yeah.
The boss fight pretty much plays exactly the same that it does in Fusion.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a little odd, because not all, but most of the recurring Fusion bosses have something new to offer. But yeah, I don't really remember Ceres offering anything new. But also, it didn't really have to, because the Ceres fight was already pretty good originally, I think.
Yeah, totally. I do think it would have been cool. Like some of the other bosses got remixes. It would have been cool for Ceres to have a little bit of that. I'm gonna skip over Box for now, although we'll come back to Box in a second. A Barrier Core X, I thought, was one of the better boss fights, like the better reimagining of the boss fight. So you fight Barrier Core X, and then you go into like the Super Metroid room where you fight Ridley at Ceres Space Colony, and Barrier Core X is like flying like at the screen, and you try and damage it, and it's not a hard fight by any means, but I mean I think Barrier Core X is like kind of one of the weaker fights in Metroid Fusion, and I would say, I mean I can't sit here and say I think it's one of the stronger fights in this game, but I think in terms of like how much it got upgraded, I thought this was really cool.
Oh yeah. Barrier Core got an insane globe. I also do love that little cutscene where it flies in just like Ridley does with the Mode 7 feature on the SNES. I thought that was like a really cool reference.
Yeah.
Actually, until you said that, I actually didn't realize that was the exact same room. But now that I'm picturing it, it's like, oh yeah, that is that same
it's just
room.
red
That's
instead of
that's
blue.
a really
yeah.
That's a really cool reference. I like that.
There was a point where you fought like a human core again, like a human scientist, and it's the same thing. You just shoot it once and it's dead. But the sprite work here, I thought, was really interesting. Like it was much more like the one in Metroid Fusion. You just kind of see like the guy, he's got his back turned to you, but like this one, you could see like the side of their face, and it felt like shooting it was like a little bit more, I don't know, ghastly because of that.
He looks at you and he has the same white eyes that the SAX does. That's such a cool detail. It looks creepy.
I thought it was really sweet. That was a good fight. Yakuza. So tell me this: how many times did you die to Yakuza at the beginning of the game trying to get across that stupid room?
I only died once. So on 1.2, it's pretty easy to dodge him. From what I've seen, because I read the patch notes, and one of the patch notes did note that they lowered his sensing capabilities in that. So I'm guessing it was a lot harder in the previous two patches. I really only died to him once, and that one time was mostly just because I was like, "Oh, why is Yakuza there? I wonder what's gonna happen when I touch it. Oh, it's a one-hit kill. I'm dead."
Yeah. I died like probably 5 times to this guy. And that was brutal because like, again, the first time you're just like, "Oh, it's Yakuza. What should I do?" Second time it's like, how do I possibly get across this room, until like you realize that you have to bomb the thing in the middle. And he was like, dude, he was just on sniper alert here. Like every time I moved, he was like, "Oh yeah." 1.2, not a big deal at all. 1.1, my god. The actual fight itself, I thought the fight was fine.
Yeah, this is another one where it's pretty unchanged from the original Fusion fight. But I also think this is one of the best fights in Fusion. So I didn't mind that at all.
Yeah, I was coming to these fights though, just kind of like wanting that remix. And so the ones that didn't get the remix, even if I thought they were like a really good fight, I still was kind of like, okay. But yeah, there's not much different with Yakuza here. It's the same Yakuza fight that you know and love. Notorious. I
actually thought sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I actually thought this fight was easier than the one in Fusion, just because you have 2 platforms as opposed to one, and it's pretty. So it has like its supercharge attack once you get to the second phase where it'll start spamming those plasma bolts at you, but you have a second platform that you could just morph ball onto and completely avoid everything. So I actually ended up thinking this fight was weirdly easier than the Fusion one. It's weird because there's 2 statues, so I was expecting like the second one to come alive and start flanking you, but it never really does that. And so I was actually kind of disappointed, especially like given the reputation of this hack. I was like, come on, I want to get punished here. And but yeah, I thought it was even easier than the Fusion one.
I just kind of like brute forced my way through. Like when Notori started going crazy, I just like went crazy myself and was like unloading missiles. And I was able to beat it pretty fast. I mean, to be honest, like the regular Notori fight is pretty easy too. It's nothing like super challenging, but I'll tell you what, I thought that the Nightmare fight was difficult. I will say that. Not like crazy, because like you can do like the pseudo like Shine Spark screw attack through all of the big orange beams, but I still thought it was pretty tough because you have no monkey bars. So, like, you've got to be space jumping and firing to hit Nightmare right in the face. So I thought that this one was difficult.
That's interesting. Because I didn't die on this fight at all, which is funny because there's another fight we're going to talk about where I legit thought it was the hardest boss fight that I ever fought, and you were like, "Yeah, that was fine."
Yeah, I did. That one, so,
yeah, it's just it's funny how that. Yeah, just really funny how that works out. But yeah, I really enjoyed the Nightmare fight. I think this is a pretty good example of a remix where it's like it's remixed just enough to be different, but I don't think it overshadows or falls short of the original. It's like I feel like I think this is like still up there with that original Nightmare fight, but just different enough to like really fit the theming of this ROM hack.
I think not to make an excuse here, but I think what made it more difficult for me this fight, I will say, is where I noticed that I couldn't diagonally aim my missiles. That was difficult.
You know, to be fair, that's a good excuse. Having a diagonal aim definitely helps in this fight with all of the variety of angles he's coming at you with.
Yeah, because I had to line up like right. Actually, eventually I just started using my beams because it was just like such a schmoz trying to use missiles. So yeah, security robot box. So we should mention too, we're going to talk about another fight here, but there's a cool mechanic where Box is your ally, and you can actually ride Box for a little bit in this game, which we left out when talking about gameplay. But eventually you do fight Box. I will say, I thought this was the most disappointing fight in the whole game.
I agree, yeah. I felt, and this is kind of what I was alluding to when I said I was disappointed that there was no monkey bars, because I feel like the lack of monkey bars like really inhibited the fight. It was just like, oh, I'm literally just jumping and shooting his weak point, and I also felt like maybe it's just me, but like I felt like the electric water. It isn't just me, because like in the fusion fight, the water is always electric, but in this fight, like it's periodically electric, and so I felt like this is one, at least on 1.2. It was pretty easy to brute force your way through.
Dude, this fight was over for me in 20 seconds. I had diffusion missiles, and I fired and fired and fired and fired, and Box had no answer for anything I was doing. I can't even tell if the water was electrified or not, because I was like standing in it, and then like he was dead. Like that was it. Yeah. So there it was.
Yeah. And it's a shame because, like you said, they hype Box up first. He's, Adam sends him out as an ally first, and you even have a little bit of control over him. And, well, I don't know. Do we want to talk about another boss fight that's related to him? Because he does play a role in another boss fight as well, which I think is one of the highlights of the game. Definitely more than his actual fight, but
yeah, well, let's get there now. So obviously, like, there are some Super Metroid bosses that are woven in the game as well. Not all of them, but there's definitely a ton of them in here. And I believe the first Super Metroid boss that we get is Crocomire. So Crocomire shows up, and this is really cool because, like, you have to ride Box in order to push Crocomire back into his falling point. I really like that mechanic, and this guy was tough. This is where I was playing on 1.1, and I did the first phase, but I got to the second phase, and I was like, no way, I'm not doing this. Crocomire has this attack where he will, if he hits you with these like energy balls, they will shoot you back like forever, and you're in the lava, and you're taking insane damage, and it's pretty early in the game. I really liked the first part of this fight. The second part of the fight, meh.
Really? You didn't like... you didn't like a...
Hold on.
You didn't...
The second part of the fight I didn't love because this is where I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm not playing this game anymore. Because I was on 1.1, and I had about 25 missiles at this point. I think they're level 2 missiles at this point as well. And I hit... And I was making save states after every successful hit. And I think I hit 20 of my 25 missiles. And he was not... So what happens is after Crocomire falls, the ghost, there's like the bones, as normally happens. But then it's like a ghost boss. Almost a little bit Fantoon-ish like kind of idea, but not quite. So you're fighting this boss, and it's a new original sprite. It's really cool. It's a really cool fight. But yeah, so I was just like, what am I doing wrong? Like, why can I not? And this is where I really noticed, like, I can't aim diagonally. This sucks. And yeah, so I was like Googling Metroid X Fusion bosses, and I watched this dude, and he hit Crocomire with 8 super missiles, and that was it. And I was on like 20, and I was just like, what is going on? So that is where I made the decision to like restart the game, because I was like, no way. So I do have a little bit of a grudge against this boss, but I love the idea of fighting the ghost and the bones. I always thought that you should do that in Super Metroid.
Yeah, it's incredible. And it's such a cool bait and switch too, because like the same thing happens. You defeat the first phase, he gets burned alive, his skeleton's there, but then the little do, it's still playing. It's not going away. And if you look at your map, you'll actually notice a second boss icon is in the room where his skeleton is as well, and so it's a little bit of a foreshadowing. And then when you're on your way back, phase 2 begins, and like, oh, that was just such a cool moment. Definitely one of the highlights of this game for me.
Okay, so the next boss that we get to, I'm trying to keep it kind of in order here. You know what? How about this? The next boss that you could do if you want, and this is the secret boss that will give you the spike breaker, is kind of a combo boss, actually. So you go in and you find this golden X parasite, and you have to go into this like really like dank part of Sector 3, and it's really cool because you space jump in space to get to this other point to get there. So like you fall through a tube and you're in space, and if you let yourself fall to the bottom of the screen, you die. But you space jump and then you can go over and you go up. Did you get to this point?
Yeah, I thought that was so I got there and I thought that was just like a troll trap door. I didn't realize you could actually space jump your way. That's actually really cool.
It's really cool.
I want to check that out again. Yeah.
To the left there's a missile, and to the right you can find another access point upwards. So when you go, you find this golden X parasite, and it forms into the rematch, Samus's biggest adversary ever, Arachnus. Arachnus is back. And you deal with Arachnus in like 3 missile shots, but then you see the X core, but then it goes up into the next room, and here you fight Spore Spawn, and I thought this fight was awesome. This was such a cool fight because Spore Spawn, like the room is enclosed. There's not that platform in Super Metroid where you can kind of hide out on. And Spore Spawn is right up in your grills, and he is shooting all of these different like tentacles and spikes and stuff like that at you. It's a really engaging fight, actually, and I thought that was done really cool. And there was a cool remix of the Spore Spawn theme as well.
I want to check that out after my Hollow Knight playthrough. Now that sounds awesome.
It was really cool, yeah. So I thought that one was really good. We left out. So there is a prologue section in this game where you fight the Omega Metroid as well. Which is kind of cool because you have like a cool escape sequence almost after that. I actually didn't test to see if you stand still if you die. I imagine you probably do because you got like the Omega like right on top of you after.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of compare that similar to like the first Ridley fight in Super, where it's like it's a boss, but it's not really a boss, you know.
I don't know if you can die. Knowing this game, you probably can. So yeah. Okay, let's talk about the hardest boss you've ever faced.
Mecha Dragon. First off, I just want to say I love this boss. Despite how difficult I found it, like another highlight moment of the game for me. This is such again, like the sprite work here is just absolutely incredible. And the fight itself, despite how difficult I thought it was, I thought it was really engaging and I really enjoyed it. And like I felt really satisfied when I beat it. So like when I say it was difficult, I'm not saying like it was too hard. Like I genuinely love this fight.
Did you have diffusion missiles when you did this?
Yeah, I did, and
okay.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on my end, but like so Mecha Dragon works a little bit different. First off, at least to my knowledge, you don't get the grapple beam quick kill like you do in Super Metroid.
No.
If there was, then I'm not aware of it. So I was brute forcing my way through that fight. But also, unlike Dragon, where you could just hit him wherever you want in Super Metroid, he has weak points this time, and these weak points activate and deactivate at various points in the fight. Usually, it's whatever weapon he's trying to attack you with, or at least that's what I think it was, because there were times where like a weak point would look like it would.
The weak points are turrets on the front and the back as well. So like when the turrets are exposed, that you shoot them and they just get destroyed.
Yeah, and so there were times where like the weak point would look exposed to me. I'd shoot it and it would do damage, and I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing. And then there would be another time where I would think a weak point was exposed, and I'd shoot at it, and I wasn't doing damage, and I'm like, what the heck? That animation changed. It looks like that to me looks like an exposed weak point. But it just he wouldn't flash white, which is the damage indicator in this game, just like Super Metroid, and so that was confusing me a little bit, and so like it felt like a really brutal boss that I was just kind
Dragon also has like the speed boost too, so like he will just crash left to right and maul you as well.
I felt the speed booster was pretty easy to dodge. Like I felt like as long as I space jumped in like one of the corners of the map, like, it was pretty hard for him to hit you. So I didn't mind that. It was more so just the weak points for me. Cause like, it would felt like even when I was doing a direct hit, not like, the splash damage from the diffusion, but even if I was doing a direct hit, when I thought a weak point was exposed, there would be like, maybe a 50% chance or not of it like doing damage. And so I don't know if that's just my reading comprehension when it comes to weak points, but
here's what I did.
Mildly grinded my gears. But again, at the end of the day, I thought it was a killer fight. I loved it.
You're right about the sprite. Like the sprite looks I think this is the coolest sprite in the game, actually. It looks so awesome.
Yeah.
So I basically stood in the corner and blasted his, like, Dragon has a little shield, and I blasted it with my just regular beams, just like just blast, and the shield would go away.
Same.
I'd smoke it with diffusion missiles, and like that was it. Like that was kind of the fight. And I would go from like back to forth to like get him, but I was expecting like a monster, and because you told me how hard it was, and I took him down on my first try, and I was like, oh man, like Doom he's gonna hate me here.
I don't know if there's something I'm missing, if I ran into a glitch. I have no idea, but there were like I feel like it should have been an easier fight, because I feel like I was shooting exposed weak points, and it just wasn't. It was like 50% of the time doing damage. But I mean, I don't know, maybe I just don't know how to read the weak points in this game. But again, aside from that, insanely cool boss. Absolutely love Mecha Dragon.
And of course, what is a Metroid game without Ridley? And this Ridley fight was both awesome and bogus at the same time. So you go into this really cool Sector 3 reimagining of Lower Norfair, and you find Ridley, and it's obvious that you need to fight him because there's a bunch of screw attack blocks that are around that you can't get out of the room with. So like it took me actually forever to find the spikes that weren't like actual spikes to find him. I don't know if it did the same for you, but
it took me a little bit, but I started noticing like, hey, that set's. It reminded me a lot of like Yeah, it reminded me a lot of Meridia in Super Metroid. That was the first thing that came to my mind, and I was like, I'll bet it's gonna be and I started paying attention to the spikes, and that's when I figured it out.
So the fight starts off like fairly normally, like the Fusion Ridley fight, and the key difference is that you're in this narrow shaft, and the floor keeps on giving away with you, so you keep on falling down and falling down and falling down, and eventually you just fall into lava. And, like, not the lava that your gravity suit can, like, withstand, like, the harsh lava of Norfair. And, like, there's nowhere for you to go. Like, you're just in lava. So, like, you have to finish Ridley off, like, really quickly in order to do this fight. I will say, I thought that it added some challenge and some urgency to the Ridley fight, which I feel like the Metroid, like, Ridley X is lacking in that. But I was also like, this is ridiculous. Like, there's nowhere to go. So, like,
once again, parallel opposites of us. I think this is a contender for best Ridley fight in the entire Metroid series. I'm
not going to say so like I thought it was great. And
to be fair, this is another fight where I'm sure not having diagonal missiles was a huge detriment.
Oh, I didn't use missiles. I just used beams.
But yeah,
diagonal beams works.
I mean, I ran. I ran out of missiles eventually. I had to like resort to like charge shots, but yeah. First off, we got to talk about the sequence as well, because like you don't just go to Norfair and then fight Ridley. There's this section where you come across one of the Adam terminals, but then the doors lock and Samus goes, "Adam, unlock the door," and the terminal explodes and like an X parasite comes up, and then all of a sudden like you do this escape sequence where the lava is rising, and like it's this really intense escape sequence. And then that all leads into Ridley, and yeah, I thought that entire sequence and the boss fight like combined together. Now, again, another huge highlight to this game.
Yeah.
And yeah, I legit think this is one of the best Ridley fights in the series. The challenge is there, the stakes are there. I think of all the glow ups, even more so than the Core X. I think this is the biggest glow up of all of the Fusion bosses.
You know what? You could be right, actually, because I think that the Ridley X fight is really disappointing. I did love the setting. I did love the challenge. I did love... Like, when I say it was bogus, I don't mean that in a bad way, if that makes sense. Like, it's like...
You're right.
Now you have urgency to beat this fiend.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're literally going to cook alive like poor old Crocomire. But yeah, I thought this was like a really great fight. I don't know if I would say it's like one of the best in the series, but like I thought that it was really strong and like a good... Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's the best reimagining of the fusion bosses.
I mean, to me, like, there's the danger of cooking alive if you don't know how to, do space jump combat. But I thought that was like a really cool way to like force you to like, continuously space jump, exit space jump to fire, then go back in, and like it's very easy for to lose your rhythm or for act to like send you down, and so like it really trained you to like master the aerial combat, and so I ended up having like a really fun time with this boss fight.
I did too, actually, and I was almost disappointed that I did it in one try, because I was like, I wouldn't minded doing that a couple of more times, but yeah, I thought that boss was really good. Let's save the final boss until we get to the areas, because I want to just quickly go over the areas. I don't want to go in depth, because like I do feel like most people should really just experience this for themselves, and we're already running a little bit long here, but I will say that I had a few like just kind of written down here, and I will say, like, in terms of what I thought some of the... Because, like, all the areas are definitely not created equal in this game. I thought that the standouts for me were Sector 3 and Sector 4. Those areas very specifically mirror Norfair and mirror, like, Meridia, and they were awesome.
Sector, I agree, and I say that as a Meridia hater, but to be fair, most of Sector 4 mirrors Upper Meridia, not Lower Meridia. You do get a little bit of quicksand here, and I almost screamed when I saw that, but luckily it's really only for a couple of rooms, and weirdly enough for the Dragon fight as well, but I'm mostly space jumping, and so the quicksand actually wasn't really much of a challenge in the Dragon fight for me, despite how much I usually despise the Super Metroid quicksand. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Sector 4 is a highlight. It's like the best of Sector 4 and Fusion combined with the best of Meridia and Super Metroid. And then Sector 3, I already really like Sector 3 and Fusion, but like here, even just the Fusion parts, I feel like really got like a huge glow up. And then you combine that with the phenomenal Lower Norfair section as well. And again, the way it's so seamlessly like all connects together. Like I really cannot like, shout out Metaquarius enough for that. Like that is really not an easy thing to do.
I thought Sector 6 also was really, really good. With the new Nightmare gravity effects, I thought those were really cool. Very Other M, actually.
Yeah, that's another thing we also didn't cover. So, like, normally you fight Nightmare in Sector 5. Here, you fight him in Sector 6 this time, and I actually think that was a really good change. I think he fits Sector 6 much better. Yeah,
you're right. I actually didn't even think of that. I just knew, like, there was all those cool gravity effects. It was very, very cool. I can't remember. Sector 1 didn't really get a whole lot of reimagining, did it? Like, there was a lot more, like, Metroid eggs and stuff like that, but... I'm not thinking of anything really that stuck out to me in Sector 1.
Yeah, nothing that I can remember. Sector 5 was also, there's a lot of really fun set pieces, including for one of the sections that I think we're both saving for last. But yeah, Sector 5 one of my favorite things about Metroid Fusion is just the way the environments evolve, and I think Sector 5 in this game really showcases that in a few sections. One of them was a bit janky. I think it's the box sequence that I'm thinking of, where like after I defeated Box, the alarms were still going off after I left the room, even though like the whole event was over. And so that was like, oh, that I don't think that's supposed to be happening. But there were other sections of Sector 5 where the environment was constantly changing. There's oh my god, the room the room with the frozen SAXs, there's something so creepy about that where you're just like, oh my god, this I am like inches away from this thing that would otherwise one-shot me. And it's frozen right now, and I know at some point it's going to be let loose, and of course it is, and we'll talk about those sequences later. But yeah, that there's something about that room that just really struck me. Of course, you also got the mother brain room as well, which I think would have been cooler if there was a payoff, but you really don't see that again after the room is unfrozen, and so that actually kind of disappointed me ultimately.
I was like, this goes so hard. Like, in this Mother Brain room, I was really excited to fight, like, the Mother Brain boss, and that just goes nowhere, unfortunately. That's one of my critiques of the story, is that, like, just, you had this really cool moment, and you didn't even need story, you just need a boss fight for it, and... Yeah,
exactly, yeah. Nothing. Yeah, I didn't need a story reason for it, I was just like, oh, it's the frozen Mother Brain room.
Yeah.
And every time you destroy the little barriers, there's which I thought was a really cool idea, having the X-Parasites control the Zebatites, and every time you destroy one, another X-Parasite goes inside the frozen Mother Brain, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger with each time. And I was like, oh dude, I'm all about this setup here.
Yeah.
And then you unfreeze the room, you hear a large explosion, the brain is gone, and so you're expecting like, okay, maybe soon, maybe sometime way later in the game, we're about to fight this thing, and you just never do. And so, yeah, I was actually, very cool sequence, but man, I wish it had a payoff. That was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, man, I'm with you there. I thought that was so cool seeing that, and then like, nada. Sector 2, I thought was like, basically Sector 2 was pretty identical to what it is.
Pretty comparable, yeah.
Which is like too bad, because I think there was like definitely some spots where you could do like some really like Brinstar themed stuff in there, and I guess there's like a room or two like that, but like I think they could have went. I think they could have went bolder with that.
Yeah, I do want to shout out one specific area in the main deck, because this one actually confused me at first, and I thought it was a glitch up until earlier today when a random YouTube short came up on my timeline and completely answered my question. So on the main deck, Samus's ship is still there, but it's in a completely different location this time. It's like in the upper middle section instead of the lower right like it usually is, except it also is on the lower right, and that always confused me because I'm like, wait a minute, why are there two ships here? Is that like where the ship is going to be during the escape sequence, and there's a glitch that's making it appear here? Like I'm going... You know, I can't even save my progress here. Like this is very, very weird. So I thought that was a glitch. That is actually an X-Parasite mimicking Samus. It's one of those reserve X-Parasites actually.
Really?
And it's mimicking the ship. Yeah. And so it's actually not a glitch. It's actually the X-Parasite copying Samus's ship, mimicking it. And so you can actually fire it, and it'll reveal one of those reserve X-Parasites that you can get.
Oh,
and
that's really
I would have
cool.
never. Yeah, I would have never guessed that until that random YouTube short popped up on my timeline, and so I thought that was a really cool addition because it's in the exact same location.
Yeah,
as it is in the original Metroid.
That makes sense because I was taking damage touching it, and I was like, "What's up with this ship? Did I leave?"
Yeah.
Okay, so and the main deck I would say is pretty much largely unchanged as well. You still have the only thing you don't really have is like the elevator sequence, like and you kind of get this actually, but like the elevator sequence when it stops and you need to find the auxiliary power, you get like that one awful room with all the bugs, but that pretty much is about it.
Which is a little unfortunate because that sequence, as I said on the podcast before, is my favorite moment in Metroid Fusion. Now, granted, this game has its own incredible moments that make up for it, but I do think it's a bit unfortunate we didn't get a similar like power outage sequence where you know you're really like, because you still get to carve your way through the ship somewhat to the reactor core, but it's nowhere near the same as it is in that one sequence in Fusion.
Okay, so another thing that we should talk about. This isn't a boss fight. And it's not necessarily an area thing, but it's kind of both. And I'm not going to even attempt to summarize how these happen or what to do. But man, there are some absolutely gnarly escape sequences from the SAX in this game.
Dude, yes, let's talk about the SAX, man.
The SAX is awesome in this game. The SAX is actually like so incredible, and there's points where there's more than one at the same time.
Yes. So this was actually my first exposure to this game, and this is where I really want to get back into the X-ray visor again. My very first time hearing about this hack was I can't remember how I found it, but I stumbled upon this YouTube video that someone posted. And at first I thought it was just a random Metroid Fusion clip. It's Samus, it's falling in Sector 2 where where you're in morph ball mode on that top layer and the SAX is walking at the bottom. And I figured it was just a random I thought it was just a random Metroid Fusion clip, and then all of a sudden the SAX activates the X-ray visor and scans Samus above. And that was
dude,
terrifying in the best way possible. I was like, what the heck? And then the video continued with like a couple of other random sections, including one with one of the dual SAX fights, which is still in this final version of the game. And this is years ago now. So I popped off when I saw that. But yeah, so that was like my first introduction to this game, and I'm like, that premise alone sold me. Like, I am here for like an all-powerful, like absolutely horrifying SAX that is utilizing Samus's ability to the fullest. And you absolutely get that with some of the sequences, but I do want to say, as much as I appreciate the difficulty change to from 1.2, I don't like that they took away the X-ray visor. I really wish that the SAX still used the X-ray visor. Still some incredible sequences, but like I really felt like that would have added an extra layer to the tension, especially in the final encounters. But that being said, oh my god, the SAX might be the single biggest glow up in the game. This is like every single time the SAX appears, it just gets better and better and better. And like the way you evade it is like really, really creative, because there's some rooms where like it feels like you're trapped and you kind of have to like retry to like, and finally you'll figure out like, oh, there's this one specific hole in the wall that I have to bomb. And and it takes you on this obstacle course. But the SAX, of course, since it has more abilities than you, will be able to like maybe screw attack through a set of screw attack blocks that you can't, and will have a faster route than the one that you have. And so you have to like really like, be on the morph ball, so to speak, through a lot of these. And yeah, there were there's a couple of really good sequences in Sector 5. I especially love when you first see the SAX utilize the gravity suit in Sector 5, where it'll land in the water and then you'll see it do that same little transforming animation that it does in the boss fight in Fusion, but it activates the gravity suit instead. I thought that was awesome. The SAX will use the speed booster at multiple points to chase you, and this thing will not let up on you. It has its sights set on you. As you alluded to, there's multiple SAXs that'll chase you as well. I think the first pair that you deal with is in that Sector 2 chase right after Yakuza. But yeah, the SAX, at least in terms of the gameplay, did not disappoint me in the slightest.
The chases were just absolutely breathtaking, heart pounding. I'm not even going to try and sum them up. You should experience this. They were what I really wish that Metroid Fusion could have done, given the release of where it was. And it seemed like in 2002 that probably just wasn't an option for the Game Boy Advance, but if this game, or when this game is to be remade, this should be the standard that it lives up to, because these were incredible.
100%.
And by the way, let's just talk about it now, actually. The escape sequence in this game was incredible.
Oh yes! I wanted to save this. I wanted to save this for the final sector, because I feel like that could warrant little category.
Let's talk about the final sector, because their thoughts are divided here.
Okay.
The final sector is insane. It's extremely difficult because, and this is kind of bogus, because you get into the final sector and you are immediately stripped of all of your powers, all of them, except for the wave beam or something like that. And so there are multiple multiple SAXs in every room. Not only that, there's other enemies like these little mock droids that are all over you. Or maybe they're Metroids, actually. I don't know.
They're legit Metroids in this sector.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are Metroids, there are SAXs, and it's just like this insane gauntlet. Like, I cannot even fathom doing this on normal difficulty. I couldn't fathom doing this without save states. Like, if I'm being honest, like, this was so. What do they call those insane runs? Like a Kaizo run or something like that? This is
a Kaizo level. Everyone described this as a Kaizo Metroid to me going in, and even on 1.2, like, I was like, yeah, this is 100% Kaizo Metroid. Again, the save states made it bearable. I cannot imagine doing this without save states.
I think it would legitimately be impossible. Like,
with the save states, with the save states though, I was having a blast. I freaking love Sector DMX, which I also love that it's called DMX. But
yeah, well, X gave it to me multiple times. That's for sure.
Indeed,
this was so hard. Like, this will test you in this final sector. And know this. So I thought, the point of no return, okay, is when you enter this final sector. And so to me, I'm like, well, I better not save my game, because then I'm going to be stuck in here. The game will automatically save it for you, which I thought sucked. Because I was like, well, I can't go back and complete my game now, which I was pretty bummed out about. So going into it.
That's pretty lame, especially because the map will mark save stations, but you can't actually access any of the save stations. They're literally just there to troll you.
Yeah, I think there's like a data station too. It's just like, okay, thank you so much. But so you get to there are multiple spots where you have to evade multiple SAXs, which is like, there was one where there's two SAXs on like two different levels, and that was like ridiculous. Like, that was so insane, trying to not die in one hit to those guys.
And because so we should point out as well. So the reason your powers get stripped, it doesn't necessarily happen automatically, but there's so you enter sector X DMX, and like, it's basically the premise of this area is this is like a, the Federation trying to contain the Metroid and the X before they outbroke, and so like the vast majority of the X infection is happening there, and they're like at war with like the Metroids in the area, and it looks really cool. Like,
the area looks like incredible. The atmosphere is off the charts.
Like you see Metroids just like eating the X parasites. You'll see like the SAX actually like fighting back and freezing the Metroids, like actually like being competent again. Like it definitely feels like a warring faction going on. Like it's really cool. Like seeing all of that play out. Like while like not in a cutscene, like during the gameplay, and you're literally not just fighting, running from the SAX, but the Metroids also aren't friendly to you either. So you have to kill the Metroids as well, which are also the only thing that can destroy the X parasite. So it's a really, really cool like juxtaposition. Like, you're this, you're this kind of third force that just barged your way into this war zone. Yeah. And so you have that. At one point, one of these proto Metroid things hatches, and it combines with the X parasite, but the X parasite doesn't take it over, and it kind of like, and it creates this almost super proto Metroid. It's definitely based off the Super Metroid.
It's based off the baby Metroid, and I have big problems with this.
Yeah, and basically the same thing plays out with the baby Metroid too, where it starts sapping away your energy, but then at the last second it realizes that you're a friendly, and it goes off. But not only does it sap away your energy, it takes away most of your abilities as well, including like a couple of the random ones. And that's really what makes the sequence hard, because it makes the SAX basically a 1 or 2 hit kill, even with like full energy tanks.
I went in with half health, so like I went in like every shot was 1 hit kill for me.
Yeah, which again, with save states, I really enjoyed. I cannot imagine doing this without save states.
I had problems with this because I was like, why is this baby Metroid here? Why does it fuse? Why is it fused with an X? Isn't that like impossible? Like, why would it help Samus in this context? Like, it's not viewing Samus as its mother. And we get to the final boss as well, which I also listen. There is no bigger fan of Big Daddy Kraid than yours truly. But what was this boss fight? I was like, what is going on? Like,
Especially after the literal gauntlet of Sector X. Like, I was expecting a mammoth boss fight, and this was probably the easiest fight in the game.
And it was very random. Like, what is Kraid,
Yeah.
Mecha Kraid doing here? Mecha Kraid looks awesome, but like, you just fight it, and then you fight like the and you get hyper mode, which whips, and then you fight the monster SAX, and that's really easy too. And and you get this like really weird scene at the end with like Godzilla Kraid, and there's just a cutscene where you shoot him, and that's it. That's a game. There's not even a fight.
Yeah, it's really weird. So you do the Mecha Kraid fight. Then you do the monster SAX, which like you said, I was also disappointed in that. I thought this really could have used like a glow up, especially considering how much the regular SAX got an insane glow up of, unbearable proportions. But you pretty much fight it the same way in Fusion. I was literally got to a point where I was just standing in the middle and it kept hopping over me left to right, and so it just and I got it into like kind of like a jump loop, and so I was just like, okay, that's it. The actual escape sequence is really cool, where you have every single SAX converging on you.
Yeah.
But you have hyper mode this time, so now you're the one doing the one-hit kills on the SAX, but they're all coming out of nowhere. They can
still damage you, though. Yeah. Like, if they're hitting you as if, like, you're just regular old Samus.
Right. Yeah, so, like, the actual escape sequence afterwards, incredibly cool. But then, like you mentioned, you try to reach your ship, the ship is gone, and so you leave the room. And then a random cutscene starts again where Mecha Kraid appears a second time, but then Samus defeats Mecha Kraid in the cutscene and hops on the ship and escapes. And I thought that was bizarrely anticlimactic, given how incredible the rest of all that was.
Yeah, so like the final sequence is going to... Your mileage will vary depending on how much tolerance you have for just like a brutal... gauntlet, like borderline unfair gauntlet, actually. I thought like the atmosphere for me made up for it, but like I cannot recommend to anybody that's not like playing with save states. Like, I don't know how you would do this. It's that difficult. I cannot fathom what this would look like on higher difficulty. I really can't.
Again, with the save states, I really enjoyed the gauntlet.
Yeah.
But personally, what I would do is I would keep the difficulty of the gauntlet the same. I would just open up those save rooms. I feel like that alone would be like all you need for an improvement, at least on easy mode. If you want to keep it the same on the Omega difficulty and whatnot, fine. But I think for easy mode, just open up those save rooms. I think that's a fair compromise. I think it's still going to be an insanely challenging gauntlet regardless. But yeah, and I think, the SAX sequences are already incredible as it is. The ones in here in the final sector are like by far the best. And like they span so many different rooms. I especially love I love the moments where you feel like you're safe and then it'll just come out of nowhere and just continue the chase. Like there's this one where you see an elevator, and you think you're safe, and then all of a sudden, there's this morph ball tunnel that you don't even realize it's there because of how dark the room is, and you see it like rapidly pop up through the morph ball tunnel, and because it has the wave beam, it can there's a pocket in the room where it can stand up and it'll start shooting you through the floor. And it can shoot you even while you're in the animation going up the elevator. And so if you're not quick enough, you can die going up the elevator, which is insane. And then on top of that, you make it up to the top and you think you're safe. But if you wait in the room too long, the SAX will also ride up the elevator and chase you too. So you have to constantly keep moving. I absolutely love this sequence, man. I love this final sector, despite the weirdly, bizarrely anticlimactic ending. I thought this is one of my favorite Metroid moments. I love Sector X.
I'm definitely not as high on it as you. I thought there was a lot of BS in this sector. But the atmosphere is off the charts for sure. And there's just a lot of story stuff that just legitimately is nonsensical. But I guess your mileage will vary depending on if you care about that or not for a Metroid ROM hack. And for something like this, you probably don't. It's probably just the destination that you're concerned about here, and not necessarily, or the journey rather than the destination. So that was that. And you know what? Really quickly, because we're running way long, but let's talk about some of the expansions in this game. Some of the Shine Spark puzzles are just absolutely nuts. There's some really cool fusion like kind of like reimagining of the more difficult expansions in those games, like in Sector 2 where you have to space jump and everything is a pitfall block. There's some of the ones in Super that are in here. I'm not even going to try and describe them all, but I really like that. And I really like that you can find trapped Edecoons in and around the BSL as well. I thought that really added to the game.
That was, I really love that you rescue them individually, and they're all optional. It's not like a mandatory cutscene that you would get, and you rescue all of them like in Fusion. I do wonder, because I did rescue all of them, and they piloted the ship and got me out of there. I do wonder, if you don't rescue them all, is there an alternate ending where you just blow up on the ship?
No.
I
did not. I left one Edecoon behind because I couldn't figure out how to get it. It was the one in Sector 3 after you get the spike breaker, and I was like, how do I get this thing? So you probably actually didn't get all the Edecoons then in that case, but I made it out of there safe and sound.
I'm pretty sure. Do you need the spike breaker to get that? Because I'm pretty sure I got the Sector 3 Edecoon.
Maybe you don't. But I got it after the spike breaker.
Because I'm pretty sure I got one in every sector, and then the one on the main deck as well.
Maybe I don't know. I certainly didn't get all of them. I was going to, but then I couldn't go back and play my game. So it's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to quickly shout out the music as well. I thought that the music was like fine. I appreciate the fact that there's like a lot of like new music, and I thought the Sector 4 music, the Meridia portion in particular, was worth shouting out. And actually, Sector X I thought was really, really cool. That music.
Yeah, that's actually the big one that I wanted to shout out. The Sector, I love the it's a really cool mashup of the Turian theme along with the environmental tension theme from Fusion, and it just oozes together so well. It just enhances that already just really gross and creepy atmosphere even more. That was definitely my favorite piece of music in the game, was that Turian environmental mashup.
Okay, so all in all, I came away with, let me see if I can find it, a completion rate of 79% in 5 hours and 28 minutes on easy mode. And that's not including my 4 hours playing on insane mode before. Do you remember what your stats were?
I can't remember what my time was. I had 77%. So we were about the
77%, 8 hours, 15 minutes. So our actual gameplay time was probably pretty similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially because your second playthrough, for those first 4 hours, you were blazing through since you already knew where to go. So we probably had a fairly similar time across the board all around.
So my final verdict here, this is an amazing hack, and I really think that like if you've played Metroid Fusion a lot, if you've played Super Metroid a lot, you are probably going to love this. Just know about the version, know about you maybe you're better than us, but like use save states. There's no shame in that. But I think that you should play it. There's definitely some moments here which are unfair. And there's definitely some things that I think could be improved. And there's definitely some things that you're going to come away with being unsatisfied with, like the story or, whatever. But I mean, this is something that you have to experience. And I think the reason why we are as critical as we are is because the quality feels so high. Like there are some ROM hacks that I've played where it's like clearly maybe this was somebody's first ROM hack that they put together or something like that. This is a very polished experience. It's the best ROM hack that Metaquarius has ever done. Probably one of the top 5 Metroid ROM hacks that you can play right now. And I'm including like Rogue Dawn or like, a Vitality and like some of those big boy ROM hacks.
Yeah, I will say for me, Super Metroid X Fusion is a case of both extreme highs and extreme lows. Yeah. I think the extreme highs vastly outweigh the extreme lows, though. Ultimately, I had a fantastic time with it. When I think of this ROM hack, I'm gonna think of like the SAX first and foremost. I'm gonna think of Mecha Dragon, Ghost Crocomire. Those are the first things that are to come to my mind, and then probably after that, I'm gonna think of the story as well, admittedly. But like those first 3 items, those are what I'm going to be thinking of primarily with this hack. Mm-hmm. And again, despite my criticisms, I think it is an absolutely incredible achievement that Metaquarius should be proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. And because I know somebody's going to say it, there is something about the story on hard mode. There's like a twist where, spoilers, you find out that you're playing as a clone of Samus, like an ex-clone of Samus. Then the real Samus has died, or like something like that. I still don't think that's enough to make up for the story, and particularly to hide that behind like hard mode, which is like an impossible challenge, it feels like. So yeah, I definitely have my critiques of this game. I think that it's up there with a lot of the ROM hacks that I've played. Maybe not at the very tippy top, but like, this is a great way to re-experience Metroid Fusion. This is like, okay, this is like you really love Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. Now you've got Reanimation, which is great. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts before? Oh my God, we got to get out of here soon, Doom. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I will say, we've talked about AM2R before and how, I could show someone AM2R who's never played a Metroid game before, and they would probably think that it's an official game, having no knowledge of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think despite the incredible quality of this ROM hack, I think there are definitely points where you can definitely tell.
Oh, this is definitely a ROM hack.
Yeah. This is definitely a fan project, an incredible fan project. I think in some cases it's provided some unforgettable Metroid moments that I'm gonna cherish and lump in with some of my all-time favorites. But it definitely has moments that stick out as well as definitely fan project-y moments.
Definitely. So, yeah. Shout out to Metaquarius. Just really raised the bar in terms of of their work, and I thought that this was just a really, really great hack, and a lot of time and effort has clearly went into this. Yes, we had some gripes, but hey. What ROM hack is perfect, and frankly, this is a project made in their free time, so thank you to Metaquarius for making this, and overall, I will play this again. I thought that this was a really great ROM hack. I could see this being a part of the Omega Metroid Marathon next year.
Oh yeah. A decade in the making, by the way. I don't know if we mentioned that at any point in the show. This has been in the making for over a decade now, so incredible for it to finally see the light of day. I do wonder if there's someone on our team that's brave enough to attempt an Omega run on this game.
Oh, well, 1.2, I'll do it. Sure. 1.1 though? No way. All right, everybody, we got to get out of here. We have went very long. Next week, we are hoping to bring you Hollow Knight. We'll figure out something else if we don't quite get there, but stay tuned for that. That's what we're hoping to do, and hopefully we hear something about Metroid Prime 4 pretty soon. We plugged the Patreon at the beginning of the episode. Just want to remind everybody about that, patreon.com/spnet. The final episode of the Great Metroid Area Ranking is going live imminently. So 2.5 years worth of ranking Metroid areas is all climaxing over on patreon.com/spnet. So get in on that action, and we got some new stuff coming next month as well. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Go like, subscribe, recommend, rate, review. If you got a Metroid fan in your life, tell them where they can get their weekly Metroid fix. Come hang out with us in our Discord. Come chat with us about Metroid and life and anything else, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You can check us out if you ever want to see these podcasts in video form. You can come and see our smiling faces as we do these, and you might even get a cameo from Lincoln or Zora in there as well. Give us a follow over on Blue Sky at Spiteri316, at Doomino Crossing, at Omega Metroid, and of course OmegaMetroid.com is your source for all things Metroid related. So go and check that out. And that's it. That's it, my friends. We are going to get out of here. So until next week, everybody, take care.